All right, guys, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. We are now in our lifestyle hour, today being Relationship Tuesday. And what we have in store for you, we want to talk about tips for recovering from infidelity. This is something, a very painful experience many of you perhaps have been through, and we want to talk about how we can enable you to move on from it. And later on, we're also going to be looking at wedding etiquette. But before we get started with that, here is your inspirational word for the day. It says, I cannot change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. I'll read that again. I cannot change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. And that's by one Jimmy Dean. A great quote right there this morning. You know, because, life bombards all of us. And just even yesterday, I was reflecting that, what, sometimes it's not about not having challenges. It's about going through them. So, God won't necessarily say you will never go through any issues. He gives you those things that you can step up. You step on them, use them as stepping stones and move forward to where you want to go. And I think that will really guide us in our next discussion here. Joining me on set, I have Faith Muridhi, who's a relationship coach. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Of course, you can send in your feedback. 22999 is the SMS line. I'd love to hear from you. Have you had an experience with infidelity? Is that something you've been able to forgive the person who hurt you? What are you doing to move on from your life? Are you still in that relationship? As I almost dropped my pen. Are you still in that relationship? And how are you working things out? Let's help one another out this morning. 22999 is the SMS line. You can also reach us on our social media platforms at Switch TV Kenya on Facebook and Twitter, and at Switch TV KE on Instagram. All right, Faith. So discovering that a partner has been cheating is one of the worst feelings in the world, because there's a way that you've given yourself to this person, you've trusted them wholeheartedly, so you'll feel betrayed, you'll feel angry, you'll feel absolutely let down. And for many people, the entire future of that relationship becomes very shaky and uncertain. So with all of that said, is there actually any hope of recovering from infidelity when we look at relationships, particularly in a marriage covenant, as exactly that, a covenant that should not be broken?
I believe there is hope. It takes a resilient mind to be able to deal with that, and we underestimate the pain. And I believe it's a trauma that we need to grieve like any other trauma. Just the way you lose a parent, a child, you've lost a certain level of aspect of a relationship. And so you're traumatized, and people should allow you to grieve and mourn. Yes.
And how do you prevent yourself from that trauma and that grief to become anger, maybe even hatred? Or is that, because we know anger is also actually part of a grieving process, should you allow yourself to get through that point and actually go through the entire grieving process, all those steps?
I believe you should, for the purpose of healing, because if you don't, you may never really fully recover. It takes about 1 to 2 years probably to even really recover from it.
Wow.
It's a process.
Wow.
It's only that most people assume once I have asked for forgiveness, you should forgive me
automatically,
and we move on.
Yeah.
But there is a process for forgiveness. It just doesn't happen automatic, which we'll share later on the process of forgiveness. But first, we need to accept that it has happened. The first reaction is you're in denial. It can be happening. It's a lie. It's not true. And then also, the healing is also dependent on how you found out. Is it through a friend, scrolling someone's phone? Did your spouse confess? That actually determines how you're going to handle the whole mess.
Right.
Yes.
And so if you're saying it takes 1 to 2 years to actually heal from this, is it okay to do it when you're within the same house? Because I can imagine a lot of like side jabs, side eye, side what, you know what I mean? Like, jisavie, jichukulie, jifanyie, how do you survive in the same house for 1 to 2 years when you're trying to forgive someone for hurting you that deeply? Is it okay in that space? Or because now you're expressing your anger, is there a risk that now you even do more things and end up separating even further?
That's where Christianity is challenged.
No lie. No lie.
Oh, sometimes we get to know how saved you are.
Yeah. Well, Apo naomba Holy Spirit help.
And I'm glad you're bringing in the aspect of Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Because I have come to learn that even if the person who's hurt you, they were to beg you and even kiss you toes for forgiveness, it's not easy. It's a process. You have to go through it. There are a lot of things you have to look into. And so I like the aspect of Christianity where it says, even in your anger, do not sin.
Right.
And so it brings out the aspect of how he's my true love. Would I still treat you the way you're supposed to be treated, with respect and honor, irrespective that you have hurt me?
Right. And that is, I love that you've brought out that verse, because it acknowledges that we can be angry.
Oh,
it
yes.
says, in your anger. So
Yes.
you will be angry, but do not sin.
Yes. And also sometimes you get to know another side of yourself that probably you've never known.
Yeah.
So you might actually be surprised, is it really me, behaving in this manner? And so it's a wake-up call, and also taking a step back and just finding out, how did we arrive here?
Right.
Is there something I can do about this, and in the process of healing?
Right.
But I believe you should still treat each other with respect and honor, and especially if children are involved in the relationship.
I want us to talk about this from the perspectives of both men and women. We live in a culture now where you hear some women say things like, but he's a man, of course he's going to cheat, like as if it's normal, like as if you should just expect it, that your man is going to cheat whether you like it or not, because apparently that is the nature of men. Is that appropriate? And because then don't you sort of create the space for your relationship to fail?
Have you ever heard the phrase that says perception is reality? What you perceive is your reality. And so most times that's what we talk to ourselves, and that becomes our reality. But I still believe there's another side of the coin. We have people like Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego, Daniel. We have people like Joseph, and they still exist today. So that is not, I know people assume it's the norm, but I believe we have amazing men out there, men of integrity.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure they're there too.
Oh, of course
to
they
all
are.
of them who are watching right now. It's just unfortunate that I think there are people who propagate that perception, as you're saying, that this is bound to happen. But there are people who are actually committed and working to their relationships.
They are there. Only that most times they're not vocal. And I wish would nurture that, I wish would look at that in terms of just even looking at leadership, whether it's in church or at the workplace, starting from sexuality.
Yeah.
Most times people never put sexual boundaries, but yet again, it affects who we are in every aspect, whether it's at the workplace or at home or in the marketplace.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. And to that also, there's a common saying, one that I actually absolutely do not like. Inasemwa ati mwanamke ni kuvumilia. What's your take on that as far as infidelity is concerned again? Is it sort of like, that's just the way it is? That's being a woman. Do you find any truth to that?
It's misquoted. That's what I believe. It's actually misquoted. It doesn't mean that. And I know the Bible talks about perseverance, which brings out character, but it does not mean persevering sin. Neither does it does not mean if I forgive you, I tolerate sin or I persevere sin. It's purely misquoted. Just as most times submission is also misquoted. Yes.
All right. If you're just joining us, I'm here talking to Faith Muridi, who's a relationship coach. And here on Relationship Tuesday, we're talking about how to recover from infidelity. If this is something that you've suffered from or are currently dealing with, I'd love to hear from you. The SMS line is 22999. You can also reach us on our Facebook page at Switch TV Kenya, where I can take your comments. Let me know, what has been your experience on this? What are your thoughts? How do you suggest someone be able to recover? We have heard that it takes 1 to 2 years. Kama utashikilia hiyo 1 to 2 years, abu niambie tu tukupigie makofi hivi. Infidelity is not an easy topic. My goodness. If that's you, I'd love to shout you out, Mazi. 22999 is the SMS line. Now, let's get back into it and talk about how for men, because you know my director George is going to catch feelings kwa hii conversation anasema huwa sana sana inaweza kuwa one-sided, but you know, even for men, there are very good men out there who he says like him, but then he's single anyway. There are very good men out there. There are very good men out there who unfortunately the women in their lives will not be faithful to them. But we also know that men do not talk about their feelings a lot, and they do not express their feelings very often. How does a man recover from infidelity? And I'm curious, as I ask that, if most of the people that you see during your coaching sessions are men or women coming to talk about their struggles with infidelity.
You'd be surprised. When it comes to infidelity, I see more men.
Really?
Oh yes, you'd actually be surprised. I think women have accepted the phrase, the norm, that it's okay for men to cheat. So even if you were to have a forum or a talk on infidelity, thinking, you know what, it's normal, there's nothing to discuss about. But it's very hurtful for men. And one of the things I realized with men, I've met men in integrity who say, I know my wife is cheating. This is a screenshot, I know. But you know what? I just want my wife back.
Wow.
I just want my wife back. That's all. I'm here to help me deal with it and find ways we can reconcile with my wife.
Goodness.
And that has really challenged me. And some even go to levels saying, I don't want my wife to find out that I know. Is there a way? I just want my bed back and my woman back. That's all. Is there a way we can go through this process?
Fascinating. I think, yeah, you're right that we've always sort of stereotyped a lot of men as being the cheaters, but it's really encouraging in a sad way, though, at the same time, that there are honorable men out there really trying to have their relationships.
And there's some who blame themselves, who said, actually, I blame myself, probably I neglected her, or I blame myself because I cheated on her a year back, maybe this is payback. They really take it so hard. And it's difficult even to confess to another man that my wife is cheating on me. It's quite challenging. And so they feel safe opening up privately and never wanting someone else to know out there. It was my wife.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break right now. But when we come back, I want to pick up on that conversation about the blame game. You know, a lot of people actually blame themselves when their partner cheats. Is that okay? Is that actually a symbol of some sort of insecurity in your own life? Plus, later, we also want to look at, you know, the effects on children, particularly those who are married and they have kids already. You know, what does that actually do to the children? This and much more when we come back from this short break. Keep your SMSs coming into 22999. I'll be back in just a bit. All right, guys, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. And thank you so much for your company, guys. I do want to shout out a few of you who've sent in your feedback and your comments. On Facebook, I have Njiri Kamwiridhie. You say, do you normally have a dress code for guests appearing on your show? Everyone is always so on point, starting with you. Asante sana. Umeambiwa umeng'ara. Uko smart sana.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Njiri. Liam Hesborn, also on Facebook, says, it actually happened to me once. It did, I guess you're talking about infidelity there. It did hurt and broke me from the inside. Within a couple of days, I healed. I believe time flies, people change, and hearts do move on. I cannot just cling on to the past. The future is yet at hand. Excellent perspective right there. You know, at some point, you do need forgiveness. Really is about yourself too, more than it is about the other person. Kamal Gitari wa Tumaini, you're watching us from Tumaini, Nyandarua County. Hapo Venus Kinyozi. Hey, shout out to you guys. I do appreciate you. Aleki Eric, you say you're enjoying the show from Ruai. You're saying this is a great topic. The Son Simon, you're watching us from Naivasha. Let me get to some SMSs here. Some very interesting questions coming in. Hello, Full Circle. I'm in a relationship for 1 year and 6 months. My boyfriend used to cheat with his friends. I decided to leave him, but then he changed after he realized there was a white guy who was falling in love with me. So now I'm 50-50. I don't know if I leave this African guy or go for my white guy, because I think my African My African guy changed because of this hot sauce. Advice for me, please. And this is a very serious question. I shouldn't be chuckling, but I love how you said it's your hot sauce. You don't leave me your name or where you're watching from. But interesting question here. You know, in the process of this healing from infidelity, oftentimes what happens is now suddenly kuna wengine wanakuja. Yeah? It's like you're at a watering hole, and then all of a sudden, like other people start to come your way. And slowly, because of your anger, you begin to say, you know what, this person is treating me really well, and this other person was never treating me well. When you're going through that 1 to 2 year period, is that the time to be open to other relationships, or should you keep yourself very, very guarded, such you're actually dealing with the hurt, closing that chapter, and then starting afresh with someone else and not rebounding?
Okay.
Quote unquote.
When it comes to infidelity, we have to look at two perspectives. Are you in a marriage or not in a marriage? So here we are talking about dating, not marriage. Those are totally two different relationships. So when it comes to dating, I would say first, deal with what the experience of infidelity did to you. Most times we never really deal with that. We just move on.
Yeah.
And so we carry baggage on the way that affects the next relationship. Of course, it does something to our lives, but are you able to relax, sit down, and audit yourself and ask yourself, what did it really do to me?
Right. And they're out there, but there are those who want revenge.
Oh, yes, there are those who want revenge, but at the end of the day, whom are you hurting?
True.
You are still going to hurt yourself and mess up someone else's life because you haven't dealt with that kind of pain instead of carrying emotional baggage, which if you don't deal with it, at the end of the day, you get married to somebody, and again, the same emotional baggage would come up in the relationship, and insecurities will be the foundation of that relationship.
Absolutely.
Secondly, for her, she has to decide, why is she even dating in the first place? Is she looking for someone to settle in? And is infidelity the only thing that she's looking for, you know, or fidelity in a relationship? The other values, can she use her own values to decide what kind of relationship she wants, whether it's going back to the same guy or the white guy that she's found the new catch? Yes.
All right. Well, someone here also says, hello, Joyce, looking good, Kamakawa. Asante sana for that. You say, yes, infidelity is very painful. This is a great story, actually. You say, we separated for 7 years. Took me a long time to heal and forgive, but now we are happily married. Thank God. That's from Kataria or Kateria. Excellent story right there. Yes. And certainly a testament that there is hope. This is after 7 years of healing.
Yes.
Thank God for you guys. Someone else here says, Glenna from Kasarani, you say you're loving the show and you're asking, how can a narcissistic person recover from infidelity, and how long will he or she take to recover? I find it interesting that you're saying a narcissistic person, so it makes me question if it's the other way around, but we'll leave that for another time. But to the question, how can a narcissistic person recover from infidelity, and how long would they take to recover?
It starts with, I believe recovery has like 3 processes where you own up first, responsibility. You need to take responsibility of your actions. And once you own up, there's a stage of where you go to the second stage of reconciliation. Are you able to reconcile all that? And are you able to really soberly work out another relationship before you even think about restoration? So it has a lot to do with yourself. And are you able to even forgive yourself? Sometimes we're able to forgive another person, but we are never able to forgive ourselves. Yes.
Okay. Let me get to our Instagram page. Again, you can give us your feedback there as well, at SwitchTVKE. Shout out to you, Sunny0810. You're asking on Instagram, are there any things that we should know or do to get through the first few weeks after the discovery of infidelity or cheating? Great question right there. Because again, of course, at this point, your emotions are all over the place.
Yes.
So, you know, what would you sort of advise or counsel someone to first do?
If you're a lady, get the counsel of another lady, somebody you can walk with, somebody you can vent, and they can probably hug you and, you know, walk with you this process. Sometimes we want to feel I am not alone, I'm with someone else. As you
Should
also,
it just be any lady though, or like a counselor?
you can take a counselor, but still again, you also want to work with someone.
Okay.
We naturally we want to have to be with someone. If you're a guy, get another man that can also work with you long term in this process, not just anybody, somebody you trust, somebody whom you look up to, and then also get help. It's very key to get help.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let me see. You can continue sending in your questions to 22999. I'll be more than happy to take them. Another one here on SMS. Someone says, "Hello Joyce, great show. As always, my husband left us after finishing our house in Ushago. He decided to remarry. I'm so angry. Help me out." So what do you do in this process? I don't know if there was infidelity or not, or if they just, you know, left on their own. But what do you do when one person, you know, has decided they're no longer willing to fight for this relationship? How does the person left behind, you know, how do you
really
process that?
deal with that? Of course, they need help to deal with the trauma, but again, it brings in the aspect of how did you also legalize your relationship? You know, was it a come we stay that the person just moved on, went to another come we stay? Was it a legal entity? Have you separated legally? There's so many aspects that you have to look into, but it's for yourself, because forgiveness is personal. You start a journey of forgiveness so that you can also be able, if you have children, to raise your children well without the blame game. She shouldn't blame herself, but she should be able to reach to a place where she's looking at the whole picture and wondering, okay, so where do we start? And also acceptance, you know, accepting probably this is the reality. What are my options?
Right. All right, let's take a look at some more feedback. On our Facebook page, we have Iman James saying, "I'm taking notes. I'm single with no experience of infidelity, 25 plus, Haikombali." Good for you. Thank you so much for that. Anne Juguna talking about or asking about where to get help in such cases. Thank you so much for that. Hopefully you can touch on that too later on. Salasim Pendarege, you're saying you're enjoying the show. Esther Nyambura Ndwati, the show is amazing. Oh, I love you, Joyce. Well, we love you too. Right back. Thank you so much for that. Let me jump over to our SMS line, 22999. Again, you can keep your feedback coming in there. I have a comment here from Kate, watching us from Roy Sambu. You say, "Hey Joyce, you look lovely. Thank you. I suffered infidelity with a person I loved so much, and it's been 9 months and it's affecting me. No man can approach me, and I don't brush them off because I feel like and you do brush them off then, because you feel like all men are the same. Your ex has moved on, but you still love him. And you say, help me because it's affecting me badly." And this is related to what we were just talking about, but maybe you can give a word of encouragement or guidance to Kate.
I'd say to her is she should begin the journey of forgiveness, which doesn't mean, you know, most times we don't forgive because we feel forgiving is letting that person go and sort of tolerating, but that doesn't mean reconciliation. And another thing is look at love in a soberly way, not from just the feelings perspective, you know, what's really, what's true love in it. And also find help to heal. And then also another thing is, sometimes I ask people is that their first experience of infidelity, or have they seen it even from their home? Sometimes it triggers things that we saw our mothers going through, our fathers going through, our sisters going through. And so we have a buildup of emotional pain. There's sometimes we need to just sit back and evaluate our lives and deal with the baggage, you know. And most of all, of course, I love what the Bible says, that only Christ heals and mends our hearts.
At the end of the day, he's
yes.
the only one who can
so
comfort.
it's taken back to Christ. Yes.
Let me read some more feedback here. "Hello, my name is Caroline. My experience has been traumatic because it was a young relationship, which most of the things I wasn't ready for. There was infidelity in the end and abuse And she says, and imprisonment. And I want out already, but it's become so complicated. Everything is on another level, from threats to more terrible approaches from more of his women, and he won't let go. I'm too young for all of this. This sounds like a very perilous situation, actually. There's abuse, clearly. She's saying that there are threats, but he won't let go. How does someone find help in such a situation? What would you advise?
She needs to see a professional counselor, and apart from that, also be advised if there are threats, she can report.
Yeah, can you call the police?
Yes, you can. Yeah. You can with SMS, as if someone it's via phone, record. Nowadays we record. Have that as evidence, because these threats can turn out to be a reality.
Sure.
So it's good to be addressed, and also inform a member of your family. If she's quite young, she has a guardian, she has a parent. Involve your family if there are threats.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Someone here says, hey, Full Circle, for the last 5 years in my marriage, my husband still texts his ex-girlfriend. He told her he'll be strong for her, and he always thinks about her. He has always wanted me to be like the ex-girlfriend, from the nail polish to career, hairstyle, and eating joints they went. In our 2-year marriage, he still has the ex-girlfriend's photos and things she bought him. I wish I had to tear myself because he didn't want to. I guess she had to tear the pictures because he didn't want to throw them away. You say you're bitter most of the time because of this, and you feel less of a woman, but you have grown to love yourself more. You haven't healed completely, but you hope with time you will. And your SMS continues to say, is it okay to go calling women beautiful, my queen, because that's what he does for these other women? But as for me, my name remains Mamam Toto. Wow, please assist me. Yikes. Very difficult situation right there. When this has been going on for so long, cheating, like, and this is point blank, he's not even trying to hide it, like, it's in your face. And I can't imagine, like, emotionally, psychologically, what this is doing to this woman. Obviously, we're a faith-based show. We're not here advocating for separation. But at what point do you is that even
say that
at what point do you say
this is enough? I attribute this to lack of boundaries, and sometimes you see the red flags when you are dating and you ignore them. This is not something that just comes up in marriage. Probably it began before. But when I'm talking about boundaries, as boundaries means there are consequences when you cross the boundaries. And so I believe if you have experienced infidelity, then probably you should literally, she hasn't, I don't know if mentioned infidelity, she only mentioned about him contacting the exes and saying, but really not outright if there is infidelity. You meet these people who, even in church, even in ministries, they like saying, dear, darling, sweetie, you know, they never realize that there are boundaries when you get married. I mean, I think this also should be addressed in our fellowships, you know, that you're a married woman, you're a married man, so you should carry yourself in a manner that shows
you're married.
Exactly, which for integrity, even for our own, you know, the body of Christ. There's a certain way we have to carry ourselves, whether we like it or not. It's expected of us.
It's not good.
In fact, I remember one of the boundaries when I was dating my spouse was hugging. We used to hug in church, but he said, now you're betrothed, you shouldn't be giving your chest just to everyone. I was like, oh, I didn't know there are such boundaries. But later I realized they're actually very healthy, because also him, instead of hugging, he stretches and he say hi.
You know. And please don't be those people. Me, there's been situations where I've literally approached you like this, bado nanivuta to go.
Of course, and then they go to levels and you know.
Hugging. We should talk about hugging etiquette. Mkono huku juu kwa shingo, si huku chini.
So boundaries are very necessary, and also address each situation till end. Not just asking sorry, saying sorry, and then you let go.
All right. Let me read one final SMS. I do need to wrap up this segment, but thank you so much, Faith, for being here. Hey, Joyce, I always believe when a woman cheats, in most cases, his man is more responsible, because when another man treats you better than your own man, you will cheat, especially if your man has not been treating you right. But I think infidelity is a pill I cannot swallow. Mimi nitabeba tu mizigo zangu kwa jwala niende. That's Philly watching us from Kisumu. Thank you guys guys so much for your feedback and your comments on this. Walter Kabete, Walter watching us from Kabete, shout out to you as well. You said you're really loving the topic and you're learning a lot. Faith, good to have you here. Asante sana. Guys, as we're talking about hugging etiquette, nimesema huku juu, si huku chini. Sawa? Juu, not down. That's where your hand goes. We're going to be talking about wedding etiquette. Aki watu wangu, niambie tu sisi, you're not those people of wearing jeans and shorts to weddings. No, no, no. We want to talk about wedding etiquette after the break when we come back. Do stay tuned. 22999 is the SMS line.